What's up, everybody? We are the Jersey Comic Group, and on today's video, we're doing a reaction and review on the first episode of the Falcon and Winter Soldier, the latest series from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Jersey Comic Group. Chris and Rob here, breaking down our thoughts on the Falcon Winter Soldier episode 1, The New World Order. Oh, yeah. Big time episode, a 50-minute episode, kind of what Kevin Feige told us would be the end of WandaVision.
Right, liar.
So this is a massive episode. We're going to break down what we thought, our reaction to it. We're going to give you the theories and speculation galore. It's going to be a fun ride, guys, so make sure you definitely pay attention to these theories and let us know if you had the same ones or if we gave you something new. So, Rob, take it away. What you got for me? What do you think?
This is your spoiler warning. I first got to say, love this episode, right? I was going into this episode, I was like a little, I don't want to say gun shy, but a little bit reserved. I was like, Falcon, Winter Soldier, I don't know how good this is going to be. Seeing that opening fight scene with Falcon and him being a master at the aerial combat was so good. And then to see this little, what's his little birdie? Red Wing?
Red Wing, yeah.
There we go. Red Wing coming out and doing these cool things. The way he would just pull up the freaking, his wings, block the bullets, fly through things. Like, we didn't see Falcon in his heyday in the rest of the Avengers. And I'm just noticing that now. Like, he really succeeds and thrives in the air. And it's just so great to see, my man.
I totally loved that opening sequence. Like the first 7 to 10 minutes of this show, it's like, oh, there's Marvel. You know what I mean? Like, and that's nothing against WandaVision. WandaVision is a completely different thing, completely different take.
Right, it's a whole different take.
But this is like, oh, you missed the MCU. You've been waiting for the next MCU feel. Like this got me right back into, oh yeah, this is how the Marvel Universe felt and feels. And sometimes you're right. It's hard to take supporting characters and put them into leading roles. I think they've already done a really good job of it. Personally, I also like this episode a lot. And you give me that first like high octane starter, and then you get into this character development that is already now set up with the amount of time we had in this episode, even though it felt like a flew.
Yeah, flew.
But no pun intended. But it was an awesome kind of reintroduction of kind of like, you know, where are our characters now? What have they been doing? It's only been 6 months since after the end of Endgame. Mm-hmm. So they've been back for 6 months. They were both gone in the blip. That was really cool to see kind of both sides. Like I'm kind of almost glad they didn't meet up in this episode, even though I really wanted it to happen.
Same here. So
you can kind of establish their world that they live in and everything that went on with that.
So moreover with Sam, I want to focus a little bit about him. Like him dropping off the shield, like I was like, all right, I wasn't really crazy about it, but I get it for like the storyline, and like he didn't feel like he earned it. He felt like it was somebody else's, and he thought what he was doing was best. Immediately, like somebody's gonna break in and steal it. You know, somebody's gonna be able to break in and steal it. Like they're not gonna be able to protect it. But then also to see the other side of it, like Sam, like with his family, I thought that was cool. To see more of his character fleshed out and see how funny he is as an actor, which is great. But the scene where he's at the bank, I wanted to focus a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Because my fiance asked me, not 5 minutes before that scene, she's like, hey babe, can you pause? I was like, sure, I paused. She's like, they make money, right? Is this Sam rich? I was like, no. And she's like, what do you mean no? I was like, the Avengers don't get paid. She's like, what do you mean they don't get paid? I was like, who's gonna pay them, Heather? She's like, the government? I was like, no, they work outside the government. They don't listen to them. I was like, in the comics, sometimes Iron Man like gave them money if they needed it and helped them because he's a billionaire. He didn't really need it, right? And she's like, that's messed up. And I was like, it is. And then we saw this scene at the bank, and I was like, perfect. Like, now we can see the MCU real world. It's like, you're essentially being a volunteer to save the world, and you're not really getting any things back. And like, Falcon was like, listen, you know, most people try to like help us out if we ever need anything, you know, that's what it is. And the guy was more concerned about the selfie. He was like, yeah, since you've been gone in the blip, bank rules have changed. Can't really help you, even though you saved the world a countless amount of times. And I was like,
get a selfie?
I was like, are you freaking kidding? I was like, I was so mad at that stupid little guy.
Yeah, that was an aspect of the show I was so happy they did. It's one of those kind of little things that is nothing to do with the overall plot per se, or nothing to do with what's going to happen, but it's one of those explanations that like kind of goes unnoticed.
Yes,
but it's extremely important, right? And you're right, in the comics, you know, if they all stayed at Avengers Mansion, they're basically kind of just like the freeloading roommate,
Yeah,
right? They're just there living off of Tony's billionaire dime, or same thing with the Justice League, right? They just kind of lived off of Bruce Wayne's, epic amount of money that had no bottom. It's a well of money with no bottom. So,
well, in Justice League, half of them are gods, right? They don't need money, right?
Wonder
Woman doesn't need money.
Superman doesn't have to eat.
Aquaman doesn't need money. Superman has a job as a disguise.
Reporter salary though. But the aspect of Sam and even Steve, they did work for the government, right? Sam was a part of the military prior to being an Avenger.
Air Force,
so
right?
he was in the Air Force, and he was the one in that suit. He was trained for that suit. That flight suit was a prototype, so he kind of has the only one. But he was definitely paid for that. But again, that money is only going to last so far. There's also health benefits, right? These guys get injured on the job 24/7. If you're not Thor, the God of Thunder, or Captain Marvel, you're going to get injured and need to heal, right?
And that's always a cool idea. Maybe we'll get that one day in comics or one day in the MCU. A hero does everything, but nobody's paying him or taking care of him. Nobody's going to take care of his bills. That could be cool.
It's a very interesting concept that mirrors a lot of sports as well. There's a lot of things that go on with football and the NFL post career, right? So these guys, they retire. How do they get their health care? If they're not superstars like Tom Brady, if they're linemen or kickers, their money's going to run out in a couple years.
Yeah.
So what do you do, right? What do you work as? Tony Stark was the money. He was the NFL. He died. His money's wrapped up in his company and the legacy of his company and his family.
Exactly.
They're not sitting there thinking about, he's not doing his will thinking oh, I better leave Sam a couple million. You know what I mean? That's just not how it is, especially with Tony Stark. So these guys are kind of on their own in a lot of sense. And I thought it was a great way to see that in the sense of I saved your life and had possibly the best line in Endgame on your left when he comes in and saves Cap and helped defeat Thanos and aliens and all this stuff. But the normal stuff.
I can't get a bank loan.
Oh, it's great.
It's crazy. To focus a little bit about Bucky Barnes, right? The first thing we see him in high action, right? He's running around killing people, and me and my fiance were like, "Wait, is he bad again? Wait, what did I just miss?"
Really, Rob?
No, I know. I fooled into it. She was believing that. I also believed it. Oh,
blink twice if you need help.
And he said Hail Hydra. I was like, "What do you mean Hail Hydra?" I was like, "Oh, it's a flashback." And it was but still, seeing that action sequence was great. And then seeing his torment in therapy, right? He's talking to his therapist, and the therapist is like, "Well, remember, you have 3 rules to follow," which we'll talk to more in our Easter egg video. Stay tuned for that. And he has these book of names, and he's going through everybody, and then him dealing with this old man who I thought he knew back in the day, because Bucky Barnes is 106. I thought he knew this guy as a kid, and he's like, "Yo, my man, you want to get some food like we used to do back in the day?"
Yeah, Yuri.
But it turns out he killed his son in that flashback, and I was like, "Oh, you have to deal with that." And then he went on a date with this really attractive girl at the sushi place. I was like, that's dope.
They played Battleship.
They played Battleship, which I thought was fun. Seeing, and then at the end, where we saw the government made a new Captain America. One, I didn't think we were gonna get in this episode, and 2, I was like, "Are you kidding me? I can't believe that they did this." I was
waiting for it because the second Sam gave over the shield, I knew once the shield was handed over, it was going to be something where okay, this shield's going to go to probably John Walker eventually.
Yeah.
And, Sam gave it to the Smithsonian thinking it was going to become a part of this kind of the Cap Museum that we've seen in Winter Soldier, we've seen in other movies, and be kind of a part of Steve's legacy that is on display. To me, I don't know if you got it. I've asked a couple other people, and they also felt the same way.
What's up?
I got a big racial undertone when they made that John Walker announcement. Where Sam Wilson was there, and the government guy who announces John Walker at the end is also the same one who's like, "Thank you, Sam." Where Sam's like, I felt like the shield was not mine. I was not worthy of it. Not because he himself is a bad fit, but because he's Steve was his best friend, right?
Yeah.
When Bucky wasn't around. So he has this connection to someone where it's in my head, it's still Steve's. I can't take over that mentality. And for them to be at the end, say very undertone words of we need a new hero for America. And a hero for our time and the next level of this, your new Captain America, and it's, you know, blonde-haired, blue-eyed John Walker.
Mm-hmm.
That was very racially undertoned to me, as well as kind of piggybacking off of the big cameo, which was Rhodey, where he's like,
yeah, that was cool.
Why didn't you take the shield, dude? Like, it's a new dawn. It's a new day. There's a lot of, everything's changed in their world and in everyone else's. I thought that was a really interesting kind of aspect that I felt.
I don't know if it's necessarily racial undertones. Like I can see that message. I understand where you're coming from. I didn't really pick up on that. It just felt like the government just wanted somebody to control, but that's also, I have a different perspective than you do, you know?
Yeah.
I could definitely see that being fleshed out to do more, but I think Disney is going to tread around that subject very carefully just because they are that Disney wholesome brand and they might not want to hit that nail on the head too much. So I can see them like this is a nod to it without being a nod to it.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, are there any scenes or any moments that like I didn't mention that you wanted to talk about that you were really enjoyed?
Yeah, I wanted to elaborate a little on the Bucky stuff because I thought that aspect was really a powerfully hit home scenario where we haven't really seen much of Bucky's PTSD because he's been frozen or, you know, mind controlled or fighting. And he has a line where he's literally like, you know, I fought for 90 years. I had some peace in Wakanda a little bit and I fought for everything else. Like I've been fighting ever since. And that was really powerful. Also the scene where he like leaves his date because it's triggering all his like flashbacks.
Yeah, that was sad.
Where I also like for some reason I just knew it wasn't going to work out in the beginning. I was like, something's going to happen and this isn't going to work out.
Well, heroes aren't allowed to have love. I mean, except like if you're Iron Man. Sometimes
nice guys finish last. Heroes, you know, no one pays you for being a hero, literally. So if you know, if Bucky goes with the intention as well to go to Yuri's house, basically like we kind of feel like, oh, he's going to go tell him. He's going to ruin his only friend in the world.
That's what I thought.
Like he's going to go tell him and he sees kind of like that shrine to his son in the background. And it just like, he's like, I just wanted to give you the money back for lunch. Like that to me was crazy too.
To me, it kind of feels like Yuri, you know, he knows Bucky so well. I think Yuri's starting to make the connection, just how like he looked back at the mural, looked back at Bucky, that Bucky knows something. I think Yuri knows that Bucky knows something, whether it's a lot of information or a little information. He knows that Bucky's hiding something from him. And I'm sure we're going to get that fleshed out throughout this story.
That'd be interesting. And my only question to that would be like, they'd have to do it pretty quick, right? Unless, because this story seems like it's going to pick up and go, right? It seems like, like what happened at the end, you know, John Walker comes out as Captain America. Sam's pissed. You saw his sister be like, you have to watch this. Almost like, it felt very like, oh no, like
what the hell?
Turn on the TV, it's on every channel situation.
Oh, I agree. It's terrible.
And so that aspect seems like that's going to kick this into action as well as the Flag Smashers. But yeah, I thought the addition of Joaquin Torres was pretty cool.
Oh, he's good. I like him a lot.
And this whole Flag Smasher thing is going to be a really interesting concept going forward.
Well, speaking of the Flag Smasher, we're going to segue into our theories video. And the first thing I want to talk about is the Flag Smashers, right? So the Flag Smashers, we see the red hand on their face, and these group, this I don't want to say terrorist group, but we'll just call this organized group, right? That believes that there should be no borders or no countries. Everything is free and open, and they kind of want the world to be back to the way it was during the blip, whatever that really means. We're gonna find out more of the message behind, but we see them like all gather. One of these Flag Smashers, I'm assuming he's the leader, comes out, jumps down. He's obviously powered, right, Chris? And like he kicks somebody to a telephone pole, he beats up Torres, and they run with all the money. So like, the question is, how is he enhanced? Do we think he's? Yeah. Do you think he has like more power? Like, is there another super soldier serum? Do you think he's connected to Baron Zemo at all? In the comics, the Flag Smasher was its own unique character. So, I don't have any. What do you think? Before I say my theory.
I think to answer your first question, I think the leader is going to be the girl from what was it? Solo, Star Wars story, who was like the assassin.
Oh, really?
Because we know she's in the show because she puts on the mask in the trailer. She's the one that gives them the mask and like that duffel bag. I think the big guy is kind of like the brute like guy, but she's like the brains behind it.
He's
I think
like
that's
the
how they're
puppet.
gonna.
Got you. Okay.
I think that's how they're gonna run it. But yeah, I think definitely this could be related to Super Soldier's serum. I think, it's a massive possibility. Even within the MCU, we've seen connections of the Super Soldier serum to Bruce Banner's Hulk back in Incredible Hulk when the Abomination was created. We obviously know the Red Skull himself was the kind of prototype of the perfection of the Super Soldier serum, but and we also know in the comics that it's always been, people have tried to duplicate it. Hydra's done it, other people have done it to try and duplicate it to create kind of like their own Steve Rogers army, and there's always something that goes wrong. But yeah, clearly they're enhanced. They seem to be connected to Baron Zemo in the sense of that the terrorizing is a distraction, where Baron Zemo likes to distract people. So and their masks are very, not similar in style, but the shaping is very similar. Or who knows, maybe they're trying to bring back Red Skull, possibly.
Oh, because of the red hand.
The red hand on a head.
I'm thinking my theory with this.
Just a theory.
The Zemo theory makes sense, right? They're causing chaos to allow Zemo to do something else. The other, I guess maybe even more sinister idea is that the head Flag Smasher, that brute, might actually be this Captain America character, right? He has the Super Soldier serum. So it's either like, all right, America's made it again and spread it out, or this guy came to being and brought himself to that. What better way for the Flag Smashers to get anywhere and everywhere would be to get in as Captain America. You pretty much have free reign in America, the powerhouse country in all of the world. If they really want to take down borders, America's a prime target. So I could see them doing all that and being real spy espionage government kind of style, which lends itself very well to Falcon and the Winter Soldier and their character types. So I think that'd be pretty cool.
That would be really cool. I also like the aspect of the possibility of connecting John Walker to them. We talked about last time in our video when we were talking about John Walker, the aspect that he has this kind of angry streak in the comics. He has a rage issue. Could this issue be whatever the government's juicing him up with, like almost like a roid rage?
Ooh, and
right?
That's
if he's trying to maintain this personification, it's almost like, again, I'm bringing it back to athletes, but like this pressure of to be the best, to be strong. I was chosen to be the next Steve Rogers. I'm chosen to be the next like head of the Avengers.
I can see
and
that.
He's juicing up on whatever this not perfected serum is, and could that be what's causing him to be like go insane or just
and maybe he lets
out?
that anger out as a Flag Smasher, right? He's like he tries to direct it some ways he can because he's just gonna explode.
Or on like Bucky's face or something.
Oh, well, that just sounds like that belongs on a certain hub website. All right. So one thing I want to talk about is the text message, right? We know that Sam sent the text message to Bucky. We still don't know what was said in that message, but we do know Bucky didn't respond. Do you think there's some kind of guilt that's preventing him from saying, "Hey, Sam, what's up?" Like, do you think maybe it's more like jealousy, like, "Oh, I wasn't picked to have the shield from my best friend." I'm more inclined to believe that it's guilt because that's kind of seems to what he's been going through right now.
I don't think it's jealousy at all because, if you remember in Endgame, when Old Man Rogers is sitting on the bench, he tells Sam to go to him, right? Like he's kind of like, go ahead.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the nonverbal personification of like, nope, it's yours. Go ahead, take it. And I think Bucky's feeling guilty. I think personally the text message might have been for, Bucky to either speak or be at the ceremony where Sam gives the shield to the Smithsonian, kind of honoring Steve's legacy.
Come with him to do that.
Like, hey, like we'd love it if you were here. We'd love you to show up or maybe say a few words. Like you knew him, not only just now, you knew him back when you guys were kids, back when he was just Steve Rogers, like kid from Brooklyn. And that might have been the text of like, hey, like we're doing this time, this date. Why don't you come out and we could talk or whatever? I think it was one of those texts, especially because it's one episode, right? It can't be based on too many things. So I think that's where it would center.
Well, guys, that wraps up this video of our reaction to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the first episode, and he got some theories in there as well. Let us know down in the comments below, what did you think of this episode and any theories you have that are going to come up in the rest of the season.
And guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, really helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe if you're new. make sure you turn on those notifications because you don't want to miss any more theory, speculation. We're doing an Easter egg video next from everything from episode 1, and you don't want to miss it. And guys, thanks so much for watching. I'm Chris Heller. That is Rob Moran. We're the Jersey Comic Crew, and we'll see you next time.